Hi everyone, this is Nicki Hart and welcome to Design Like a Pro. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you some quick tips about formatting magazine article text. Specifically, we're going to be paying attention to how we're working with text across multiple pages. And it's a very simple thing. InDesign makes this extremely easy to do, which is the power of InDesign over, say, Photoshop for magazine design is the ability to lay out your text and really work with it in a much easier fashion. So let's go ahead and dive in. I am using the latest version of InDesign. You can use whatever version you have available. That is the beauty of a lot of the tutorials that I have, is it's not really particular to one version over the other. So what you will see today applies to whatever version you have available. So the first article spread that we have here, and again, we're focusing on text, not so much the overall layout, but I will give you some insights into how this worked out. I always work from the back forward. That is something I continually do, is work from the back forward. And this just helps you really figure out all of the elements from big to small and how they're going to work. So by placing your photos first and then your other key elements, you can start to see a great opportunity for text so that when you're ready to drop your text in, you have space available for it. You've thought it out. It works really well with your layout. So then you're not working so much on the back end to try to fix that. So let's go ahead and drop in some text. Now, I'm going to be dropping in some filler text just for the purpose of this lesson. You'll probably have text already available to you that you will be dropping in for real if you're working on a layout. So we're going to grab our type tool and I'm going to hit W really quick. As you can see, hitting W takes me in and out of print preview. So this is what it looks like when I'm actually working on it. But if I wanted to see how everything was going to look in the final printed version, I hit W and it sort of clears out all of that extra stuff around my spread. So I'll hit W again, and then we're going to come in here and drop in a text box. And the beautiful thing is that in a later version of InDesign, it does kind of help me place this text box with some guides here. You can see the green line. And I'm going to go ahead and drop it. Now we need to do some formatting of our text. And immediately what I'm going to do is drop this font size down to about 11. And then I'm just going to drop text in and we'll style it after that. So you can see that we have a lot of space issues here. So I'm just going to go back to auto so I have more room. And what's happening is this is just pulling in my previous setup, so it's conflicting. So I could tell that it's pulling from when I was doing a large headline, and that's why it doesn't work so well in this context, but we're just going to reformat it. So then I'm going to select all of this really quickly, and we're going to make this white instead of orange. And then we are going to change the font to a serif font. I like Adobe Caslon Pro for that, just to get us started. And then the other thing that I always like to do is change the justification so that it's justified to the left, and it creates a block of text. You don't want to do this for lots and lots and lots of text, like a book article, for example, but in small blocks of text, this ends up looking the nicest. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit return here just so that we have a couple extra paragraphs that you would actually be having in a real article. So we're formatting this as close as possible. And I will zoom in here just so you can see this a little bit better. One thing that I want to do is extend this text box, because when I use filler text instead of text from a real article, it only fills to the space available, and I need it to extend beyond so you can see what happens when we wish to bring text over and it overfills the box. All right, so then that's going to give us some more text. I'm going to bring this back up to where we really want it to be. Okay, and one thing that I like to do for articles, I don't do this all the time, but in this case, I am going to create a drop cap, and that's over in the paragraph panel, and then we're just going to add 3 spaces here. We're basically saying we want that one letter to take up the first 3 lines to create a drop cap. And to make it stand out even more, we're going to turn that into a blue color, which is reminiscent of the blues that we already are using in this article. Using that to sprinkle that highlight color around, guys, it really pulls all of your pieces together in your article very, very quickly. And then we're going to match the original headline font, which is a sans serif versus a serif, to just streamline that a little bit. Okay, so really quickly, we have some nice article text. going on. So then the other situation that we have now is that we need to bring it over into this blue box. Okay, so this is a space that we have available for some additional text. Now, how do we get it over there? This is what makes this so nice in InDesign. If I select my text box originally, I can see down here is a plus sign. This tells me that I have some overset text in this box, meaning that there's more text in the box that we're not seeing because of the size of the box. All right. So in order to click that and bring that over, we just have to do a quick click on that plus sign, and then our cursor is going to change into a text box. I click anywhere in the document and I've created a new text box. Now I can just click and drag that over, and you can see the rest of the text is now visible, and we just have to resize the text box to fit the space. Okay, and you can see we have a little bit of extra space down here. Now what happens if this was entirely filled up? Okay, we can fill this all the way. And in your case, it may not be so smooth where your text is going to fit perfectly. That rarely happens because magazine design is very much about puzzle pieces. Okay, so if that was the case in this particular layout, you have some flexibility here in the ability to drag this up, and you can fill even more text into this space if you really needed to, right? So we could do that. We could fill this whole side. We could fill this whole side here and just sort of fill it in there. And then I'm going to push this in a little bit to match our padding on the side. Okay, and a quick preview there. So that is an opportunity if your article was a little bit longer. It's a way to look at the photograph that you have and the flexibility. Is it okay to cover up her arm? It looks all right to do that. So it's totally up to you, and it's all dependent on the text that you have. But just in a few clicks, you could see how we were easily able to accommodate more text versus less text. So that is how you're going to take and bring text over. Now, what happens if you're going to need to have a page in between here? This happens a lot as well, where in magazine articles, it may not be a side-by-side spread, but the article itself is going to continue on to another page. Well, the process is identical. All it is clicking that plus sign, and you can see now that the plus sign is not there because we no longer have that text where we're not seeing all of our text. But if you have that plus sign, you can take that text box and put it anywhere in your document. So to see that in action here, we have another article example where this is definitely a bigger photo that's taking up the entire 2-page spread here. And then we have just a little bit of text over here on the left. So this is maybe our lead-in text that we're using for this article. But if we scroll down, you can see here that there is an ad that breaks up the article. This is very, very common in lifestyle magazines like Cosmopolitan, Glamour, Redbook. All of those are very common with their big beauty ads. Okay. So this is mimicking that for you. But you can see that our article picks up over here. So it's the same thing as before. Literally, you are just going to click that plus sign and drop in your text box, and it's going to retain the formatting of your text. Now, this is a step further. It's a little more advanced in the fact that if we look at this text frame, we are utilizing 2 columns instead of 1. So you can see here that the use of these text boxes, they are linked together, meaning that if I were to, for example, delete this line right here, you will see both text boxes accommodate that change. So they are definitely linked together. But that doesn't mean that the boxes have to be identical. Okay, so we can have a 2-column text box and a 1-column text box linked together. And then you can see that this article ended, so we ended up with some white space, and I like to fill white space with block quotes. And block quotes are just text pulled from the article, usually a quote that somebody you're interviewing has said or something really profound that you can pull out of that and just really make it known. And it's styled a little bit differently. This one has a serif font instead of the sans serif font. It's italicized, it's purple instead of black, and we've offset a little bit with a little decorative element here. All right, so this is how it fills in with this page, and then we end it with another photograph because photographs are great for magazine articles, and you can see that it works here, and that we've pulled that orange line that we use on this page down here. So that's a visual cue for your reader that says this article is connected. Even though there's an ad that's breaking up this article, we can still tell the viewer that this is a connection and this is extended onto the next page. And you don't have to put down here continued on page whatever, because you only have an ad that breaks this up. So the only time that you're going to say continued on is if it's literally like at the back of the magazine, or it's not really intuitive for the viewer to know that it's going to be coming up very soon after a few ads. Okay. So when we see them side by side, this whole block works really, really, really well together. And it's just a matter of extending those text boxes. Now, these are just 2 text boxes. So if this was filled, you would continue to do the same thing, clicking the plus sign and placing your text box until you were done and all of your text was visible. So there you have it, a quick look at how to lay out some articles for your magazine, paying extra attention to how we're formatting our text and overflow text and how to get that on additional pages. I hope this episode was helpful for you guys and your magazine design. If you have any comments, leave them below. I do my best to answer all of them that I see. So if there's anything that you need a little explanation on or a little question, please leave it below. It may turn into an upcoming tutorial as well. Please subscribe if you haven't already to stay up to date with the latest and greatest here at Design Like a Pro, and I will see you in the next episode.